Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to the Blossom Experiment podcast. Today, we're going to have a bit of a different episode in which it's going to be a smaller episode, but a little bit more actionable. So, I want to share with you some journal prompts and some exercises that I have been doing with myself and with my clients to shift my mindset and our mindset with in regards to money from a more lack mentality type of mindset to a more abundant mentality. So I hope this episode will be helpful and insightful as always. And if it is, please leave this podcast a very good review on any player that you're in. And if you're interested in receiving an 11-minute free meditation for intuition connection, so a meditation that will help you connect your intuition and craft a relationship with it, please make sure to screenshot the review that you're sending us and send this screenshot to our email blossomexperiment@gmail.com. The email is on the show notes of the episode, so it will be way easier for you to just copy and paste it on your Gmail or on your email and just screenshot the review, send it to us, and I'll be sending you our free 11-minute meditation. And I hope you enjoy it. So let's start off by talking a little bit about money and personally the way that I see this energy. So in spirituality, we talk about how money is only an energy and how it flows in and out of people's lives as much as it is aligned to our subconscious beliefs about it. So just a little sidetrack. I personally have in my life, after I've studied a lot of different types of manifestation and law of attraction and all of these things, I have started to create my own process in regards to manifestation, which I call soul manifestation, which is very connected to intuition and very connected to the idea of deconditioning and intuition and taking aligned action. And for me, this is like the big process of how it is to manifest according to your soul, which is very, very different to manifesting from your mind. And I feel like that can be a process that you can use in any area of your life. And right now, as we talk about money, I like to differentiate the concept while I'm talking about the manifestation from soul, the soul manifestation process. I like to differentiate two versions of ourselves, or let's say two aspects of our humanity or our spiritual beings, which is the conditioned self, which is the part of us that lives in lack when we are talking about how it relates to money, versus the true authentic self, true authentic aligned version of ourselves, which is our version of self that is always in abundance. And then again, this concept might relate to money or really any other thing that we feel either lack or abundant in life. For example, love, or feeling enough, feeling worthy, any on any really aspect that are of our lives that we might feel lack or abundance. These two concepts, the conditioned self versus the authentic true self, they relate to it in a way. And so it's from these lenses that I want to bring this conversation to, because I know that there are a lot of different ways of approaching money and money mindset. And believe me, I've tried a lot of different ones, because this is it's like one of my, let's say, one of my Achilles heels. And that's why I wanted to come on here and share some of the things that I've been using in my own life that have been shifting a lot of mindsets for me and for people around me, but also in a way to also tell you that by no means I'm an expert on this. I'm experimenting, as the name of this podcast, with this as I go. And I wanted to share this to maybe hopefully help you along as well, for maybe us to start off our new year with a different energy, with a different mindset. So as I started thinking about money in this way, and I started trying to uncover the energetics of money even more, I started looking at it. Okay, how can I see this as the conditioned self versus the true self? And then I went even deeper into this, and I imagine as if it was our lack self, so our lack version of self, versus our abundant self. And again, this can be in money, but it can be in other things as well. But today we're talking about money. So let's just go with that. Money and material stuff, maybe. So that was when I kind of went into this concept of, okay, we have our conditioned self, we have our true self, which is a concept that I kind of channeled within my own intuition as the soul manifestation kind of process is also something that I channeled within my own intuition. So these are two concepts that I really integrated within myself, and things that I've experienced and things that I have learned from within, and of course observing the universe and life and everything like that. So as I go deeper into these concepts, but I try to kind of distill it down to the energy of money, I get to the concept of, okay, the conditioned self is equal to lack self when we are talking about money, and then the true self is equal to the abundant self when we're talking about money. So think with me, it's as if like we're zooming in and in and in. So from the big umbrella of the conditioned self and the abundant self, we zoom into the lack self and the abundant self. And then from these two concepts, what I started doing and what I want you to do, so that's the first step. So if you're close to a journal or something like that, or if you want to take notes on your phone, that could be really helpful. So from these two concepts, lack self and then the abundant self, I started thinking to myself, okay, when in my days, when during the day am I in my lack self, and when in my day am I in my abundant self? So what I invite you to do is, now that you have either your journal or you have your phone, I want you to write lack self and underneath it abundant self, and then give it some space so you can write things in between. And then for the lack self, we will start describing it as whatever thoughts, emotions, or experiences that you currently have in your life that are lack related. So whenever you feel like an anxiety in regards to money, when you feel like you're unsafe when you are around money or when you're spending money, or for example, every time that you go pay something specific, or if it's everything in your life, you feel anxious. Where do you feel not deserving of spending money, and where you feel like it's okay? Maybe there are some areas in your life that you feel really anxious by going out for food and in a restaurant, but then when you're paying your groceries, or when you're buying books, you're really feeling like in your abundant self, like you're really feeling like it's everything is okay, you're not anxious and things like that. So I want you to start kind of making a little inventory of your weeks, of the past weeks and past months maybe, of when you are acting as your lack self. What are the situations, what are the experiences that you're having, and also what are the thoughts that you're having about money when you are in your lack self? What are the emotions that you're having in regards to money when you are in your lack self, and things like that. So I want you to start taking inventory of all of these things that I just described for your lack self. And after you do that, I want you to do the same for your abundant self. So I don't know, maybe you want to pause this podcast right now so you can take inventory of the lack self, so we can then move on to the abundant self. And then when you get to the abundant self, I want you to take inventory of all of the times that you feel like expended when you are spending money, when you feel like your rich version of self, and you feel so calm and so trusting that money is an energy that will flow super strongly in your life. Where have you seen that money comes easily to you? Where in your or what moments in your life, in your day to day, do you have this trust that money will always be there for you? Or if you don't have that at all, I want you to write that as well. Or what were some of the moments, even if it wasn't like weeks or months ago, maybe what was some of the moments that you did feel this sensation of security and safety and expansiveness and abundance and positivity, and like this trust that everything would turn out okay for you? So Now, let's take inventory of the abundant self. If you want to pause the podcast as well, so you can just write it down. And again, I want you to go over also the thoughts and feelings, emotions that you get when you are in the abundant self as well. So maybe you feel safe, as I said, maybe you feel trusting, maybe you feel this power inside of you of like making things happen and going after your dreams because you just know that everything's gonna turn out okay. Maybe you feel super rich, and when you're buying, for example, a latte and you are treating yourself to a little dessert, um, or I don't know, maybe you're feeling super rich when you're going out and buying new clothes for yourself because you feel so empowered by it. The other day I was talking to a client and she did for the first time her nails, like she did it like acrylic nails for the first time, and she felt so rich and empowered after doing that. And she said, I know it's something so small, but at the same time I feel so rich and empowered, like I'm in this new boss version of myself. And I said, it's not stupid at all, it's not small at all, it's something that is so beautiful, and for sure it has put you in this abundant version of self. And that's exactly what we want to emanate to the universe, and that's exactly the vibration that we want to kind of integrate in our bodies. So yeah, make sure to take inventory of all of these things, and then once you're done, I want you to kind of compare or kind of observe when you are in your lack self versus when you are in your abundant self. And I want you to maybe give it a percentage. Like, how much of your day are you spending in your lack self versus how much of your day are you spending in your abundant self? And I'll be very curious whether you had any realizations up till now about maybe how much you are in your lack self and you had no idea that you thought about money this way. You had no idea how anxious you got about money whenever you thought about it. Or maybe you had the opposite realization. You had the realization of, oh wow, I do have the capacity to be in my abundant self and I didn't even know it, or whatever that is for you. And I just want you to observe a little bit these realizations and maybe take note of them, maybe take note of specific thoughts that you're having now, and specific realizations that you're having now that might be helpful for you in the future. And as you do that, I want you to write maybe on the third kind of paragraph that you have. So we have the lack self versus the abundant self, and then we're going on to like a third kind of journal prompt, which is, what are some of the beliefs that I have about money? And then in this specific prompt, I would suggest to you, you either write a letter to money. So you say, Dear Money, and then you start writing a lot of things that you would like to get off your chest and tell money. Or you can do another thing. You can just write down like beliefs that you have uncovered as you are writing down your lack self stuff and taking inventory of your lack self, or beliefs that you remember that you heard a lot in childhood, for example, about like, money don't grow doesn't grow on trees and blah 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 blah, all of these things that we all know. But I strongly suggest the letter for money. That is something that shifted so many things for me, and that I realized so many things that I had never kind of expressed before. So I want you to take some time to do that if you want to pause the podcast right now and write this letter and kind of like think and bring to the surface all of the limiting beliefs that you can have access to in your awareness right now. Because believe me, there are a lot of them that are deep down in our subconscious that we don't even have access to them right now. But trust the ones that you have and start noting them down. And then what I want you to do, so for example, let's say that one of your beliefs is, I'm not enough to make money as an entrepreneur, for example. Then I want you to take that limiting belief and I want you to put it on the next column, let's say. And then I want you to, for each limiting belief that you uncovered, is, why is this not true? and how would my abundant self perceive it? So it's like this psychological way of canceling, quote unquote, the false belief and rewriting it in a more positive way, in your abundant self way. Because ultimately what I want with this little exercise is that you will embody your abundant self, instead of, and understanding how this version of yourself thinks, instead of being so trapped unconsciously in the lack self mentality. So let's go back to the exercise. So we had there our limiting beliefs, and then we're rewriting as our abundant version of selves, as our most aligned and highest versions of selves, what we want to believe instead of that other black mindset belief. So for example, for the one that I just gave, I don't believe I'm enough to make money as an entrepreneur. Why is that not true? I'm good at what I do. I have the skills that are necessary. I can help people. I've seen that to be true. There are other people that are doing this. So why couldn't I? And then being an entrepreneur is as safe as it is to have a normal job and blah, 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 blah. So we can start uncovering all of those beliefs. So, for example, if I have the belief money doesn't grow on trees, the abundant self might believe money comes to me easily, or money is everywhere, just because it wants to believe. It doesn't have to see it to actually be true, but that's how my, at least my abundant self would reframe it. So it's a very unique and personalized process, in the way that however you want to reframe it, you reframe it in your own way, and it's not right or wrong. I just want the reframe to be positive and abundant. And it's something that maybe you don't believe now, but this part of you, there's a deeper part of you that's more trusting and more abundant, that does trust, that does believe that. So even when you're writing it, you're like, no, this is not true. Like money is not easy to find, money is not everywhere, and things like that, and money doesn't flow to me easily. Even if you don't believe that, put like a little mark beside it, just so you remind yourself to work a little bit more on that and excavate that deeper. Like, why do I don't believe in this so deeply and so strongly? So but leave it there like that. So that's the next kind of exercise. So once you do that, I want you to then do the last column that we're going to have in this podcast, which is the abundant self column. And then I want you to write all of the things, all of the thoughts, emotions, experiences, opportunities, and actions that you would take if you if you were to embody 100% your abundant self. So for example, maybe there is something that you've been putting off to from buying, and it's something that it's really aligned to you, it's really aligned to your authenticity, and it will really help you in some way, or it will just make you feel empowered, or whatever it is, and you've been putting off from buying it because you are really scared of spending money. So this is, for example, something that your abundant self would instantly invest in, because it knows that money is everywhere, and it knows all of the new abundant beliefs that you have, and it knows all of that to be true, and so it would instantly invest in that. Or for example, maybe you are stuck in a job that you really don't like, and you're just there because of the money, and because the abundant self knows everything should be true and money should be everywhere and things, and it has this more abundant mentality towards money, it would maybe quit that job. And I'm not, let's hold that thought a little bit. I'm not saying go do all of the things that the abundant self wants you to do, because maybe you physically can't right now, and that's okay. But it's just a very, very beautiful thing to have in front of you as action steps that your abundant, most trustful, and most aligned version of self would take. Because slowly, then you can start walking towards that direction. So maybe right now you can buy the book that you want, but you can't buy the Apple MacBook, you know? So the abundant self would buy both. Right now, you can't really afford to buy the Apple MacBook, but you can afford to buy the book. And you know that you can afford. You won't be you won't not have a house, or you won't be without anything to eat if you buy the book. So everything is okay. So then you can take a step in this direction to be more like your abundant self. And then eventually you will have that list of the things that your abundant self would already be doing, and then you can go over that list and work on that list, so you can start acting as that version of yourself and start bringing and calling those things in, because ultimately manifestation is very connected, and the amount of money that you will end up manifesting is very connected to the beliefs that you have, but not only on your mind, but it's also how you act on those beliefs or not. So if you are believing all day long that, like, or trying to tell yourself that you're believing that you're rich, but then you're scared of buying a book that you really like and that you really want and you have money for, because I don't know, you're afraid that you won't have those 20 euros in, I don't know, 3 months from now or something like that, then the reality, what you're emanating as as the action, as the aligned action, is not really aligned. The action is not really aligned to that abundant version of yourself. So ultimately, I have a very realistic way of relating to manifestation, because it has been so detrimental to my mental health and my belief in myself and my belief to be a co-creator in the universe, when I've been trying to, like, law of attraction my way into things, or trying to be like in this energy and trying to do all of the action steps that my higher self would make and things like that. And all of those things, they some of the things worked for me and some of the things didn't, because I felt so scared and unsafe that I wasn't really able to do them. So I wasn't able to quit my job and just act as my higher self would act, because I was still afraid. So then the thing is not to be put off by it, but the thing is then to look at the fear, is then to look at what are the limiting beliefs around that, and what is impeding you or blocking you from actually taking the steps to being more in alignment with your higher self. So when we start crafting this list of what would my abundant self do, how would my abundant self talk about money, what would be some of the action steps that she would take, we then start realizing what is the point that we want to get to in our lives, and how we want to act around money. And then from this place, we will be then be able to understand what are the things in this list that I would be so scared to do right now, and why. And that's the work. This is where you need to do the inner work. Those between this gap, in between the gap of where you are now and where you want to go, this is the work that you have to do, that's in front of you. That's where when you need to work. This is where you discover your biggest Achilles heels, and where you would need to work on, so you can then manifest the things that the highest self would be manifesting if she would be taking the actions already that you can't. And maybe right now there are some other actions that you can take, and then please do and go and take them, because maybe the action step is just reframing the way that you see money. So for example, when you are paying things, instead of being like, oh my god, I know, I can't believe that this money is coming out of my account, is actually reframing it and being like, oh my god, thank you so much for the fact that I can spend this money right now. So it's looking for these small places of abundance in your life, rather than having to wait for them to be there in the first place. Because believe me, you already have abundance in your life, you're just not recognizing it. And I think that that is a very abundant self way of looking at things, because when you drop into this state of yourself, instead of looking at things with the glass half empty mentality, you start looking at things with the glass half full mentality. So when you find 1 euro on the streets, instead of being like, oh, it's just 1 euro, why doesn't the universe send me 100, you actually go, oh my god, there's money everywhere, money comes to me easily. And that's the abundant self. So I hope this was a helpful episode. I hope this different format of the journal prompts and little exercise, kind of like little workshop thing, was helpful. Please send me a message if you like this. You can message me on Instagram at cami.minervo. All of my links are on the show notes as always. I would be really, really curious to know whether this format of episode is nice and uplifting and helpful for you, because then I can do more on different subjects. And yeah, if you have any other questions, if you want to if you want me to talk about other different topics, please let me know. I'm always really open to hearing it from you. And yes, make sure to share this episode with someone who might benefit from it and who might want to start off their new year with another mentality when it comes to money. I hope, really, really hope this was helpful. I hope you create a very magical and authentic and abundant week. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.